Today, on Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat, Two Rivers Boatworks freshens up a boat of their own, a very customized 35 Intrepid.
It was a great opportunity for us to showcase the quality of work and the type of work we're doing.
George LaBonte visits some of his favorite one-man dreamboats from the season.
Something that jumped out at me is what is the actual motivating factor that comes into play and makes you want to take on a project and fix a boat up on your own.
And Stuart Boatworks spent some time on the water with their newly completed Custom 27.
Everything was totally custom, but when it comes out and you see the boat, it looks beautiful.
All coming up on Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us as we follow one-off builds to all-out restorations in Stuart, Florida's Dreamboat District, home to some of the best custom boat builders in the world. From modest to over-the-top, industry experts from the district's premier facilities show how it's done. Fiberglass repair, custom paintwork, engine rigging, electronics installations, and more. And boating editor George LaBonte shares the stories of boaters who have already turned their dreams into reality. This is Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat.
So over at Two Rivers Boatworks, we've got a bit of a special project in at the moment. We have our Intrepid 35 that has come in for a few repairs to be done to her. She's been done for about a year now, and after a boat's been out in the elements and in and out of docks over a year, it gets a little bit of dock rash and a couple of nicks here and there. So we've brought her in to have these little nicks and chips fixed. This Intrepid holds a special place in our hearts, mostly because it was Kristen, my partner's boat, to start off with. And Kristen had the boat for a couple of years and started looking a little tired. She's a 2006. She was in a dark blue with a yellow stripe and white upholstery, and she was starting to show her age. And this Intrepid is lovingly known as Irene by us. Now, Irene was the Greek goddess of peace and of the season spring, so new beginnings, and well, we wanted to give a boat a new beginning, so we decided to revamp her. A few of the things we did on Irene to start off with was, because it was kind of like our project Dreamboat, it was a great opportunity for us to flex our creative muscle and get our creative juices flowing, and to showcase the quality of work and the type of work we're doing. It was also the first boat that we tested the All Grip SE metallic color on. We painted her in the brown sugar metallic, and we also had the opportunity to do our crystal in the clear coat over the brown sugar metallic. We also did a custom paint job on the motors. We redid the upholstery, and to me it's a small thing, but probably one of the most exciting things on this boat is the powder coating. When I went to the powder coater, I said I wanted to match it to the Brazilian brown stripes that we have on the boat, and they said, yeah, but it's got a metallic in it. I said, yeah, I want to add metallic to the powder coating. And we settled on what they call a midnight sparkle. We did a couple of other little things. We painted the console. We painted, for example, the Intrepid logo on the side, opposed to it just being a graphic. We also put sea deck down on the little swim platforms at the back, which we matched with the dark brown color, the Brazilian brown stripe. We carried the same boot stripe through on the outboard motors. Overall, I think she turned out fantastic. We enjoy running her. We've taken the staff out in the afternoons for boat trips on her to the sandbar. So it's a boat that we've had fun on, and we have a beautiful CV coming up through the works, and it's allowing me to put my creativity into that boat. So we're always going to have our own little project Dreamboats along the way, and I think whether we carry on owning her or somebody else owns her down the road, that person will always be very proud to have this boat.
When we come back, the experts at Two Rivers Boatworks give the Custom 27 from Stuart Boatworks a final detail and buff. This segment brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO Offshore.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as the experts at Two Rivers Boatworks sand and buff the Custom 27 from Stuart Boatworks.
All right, here at Two Rivers Boatworks, we are doing the final touches on the 27 Stuart Boatworks hull. It is all put together and it is looking gorgeous. They've got that thing looking so sweet. So basically, I'm just gonna sand the hull, give it a buff, and give it that final bling before it goes to the owner. So when I started sanding the hull, I always start with 1500. It's a very light grit. You don't have to worry about burning through too much. But because we put on the new All Grip HDT clear, this clear is super rock hard, and 1500, it was basically just polishing a rock. So I ended up having to drop down to 1200 grit. When you're sanding, wet sanding or buffing anything and or dry sanding, the heaviest grit you really want to use is 1000 grit. Anything heavier than that, you're really gonna have trouble getting those scratches to go away. So for HDT, 1200 is the grit. When you're sanding the hull, what you're really looking for is the orange peel to kind of go away. What orange peel is it's these little tiny dimples, and you'll see the paint just looks like it has a little bit of peel to it. You'll be sanding that consistently and you're waiting for that to fade away. You'll see it when you're dry sanding it. You want to take a rag before it gets too dusty and wipe it down and really look at what you got. If you still see a little bit more of that orange peel in there, don't be afraid to go ahead and sand over that again. Because like I said, you work small areas, and once all that orange peel is gone from that section, you're now free to move on to the next section. You know that that's going to come out looking perfect. So on a lot of paint jobs, and everybody knows it, there's always little bits of dirt and there's little bugs, and welcome to South Florida, there's all types of creatures. So you get little stuff in your paint job, don't worry about it. This is what the sanding and buffing process is for, and believe it or not, you can get rid of some pretty big stuff. On this boat, actually, in particular, we had a nice little mosquito that just was flying around the booth and finally ended up in the clear. And believe it or not, we were able to get rid of him, no problem. All right, so now we're starting the buffing process. The very first thing to do is make sure that there's no contaminants on the boat. Pretty much with the compounds, I like to use a Super Duty cut. It's like a heavier cutting compound, has a little more grit into it. First thing you definitely want to do is go ahead and get your compound and pour it in like a little 1-quart cup, and get a little brush that you can use to dip that in and brush it on the boat. You'll notice on my brush, I wrap tape around that aluminum shaft or whatever you want to call it that grips all the bristles, because that aluminum little ring right there will scratch the crap out of your boat and you'll be kicking yourself forever because of it. So definitely tape that up. You really want to work out like a 2-foot by 2-foot section and get comfortable with what you're doing first. Go ahead and dip your brush in there, put some compound on the boat. Little goes a long way with buffing compound, so go ahead and put a couple dabs on there. And you'll notice when I get the buffing wheel, I kind of started on a low speed and just get it to spin and move that buffing compound around to cover that 2x2 area. Once you have the area covered, go ahead and turn the volume up. You'll see you have a little dial on your buffer. Go ahead and turn it up to about 2,000 RPMs, 2,500, then go ahead and buff over that area again. And the way you finish out that area is by turning the speed all the way up and glazing lightly over the area, and that high speed with that wool will really take away all types of hazing and scratches, and you'll be left with a pretty good product after the first coat of buffing. It's rule number 1 that you'd always buff the area at least twice. If you want a really superior product, I recommend buffing over the area 3 times, but it can get shinier. And how we do that is we use a material, it's basically your finished compound. It's very, very fine. So you can take your pad and go ahead and put a little dab or 2 or a little swirl on the pad, and then take your pad and press it up against the boat, and you can start pulling the trigger and just working that material in just like we did the compound. Only this time, feel free to work in a 4x4 foot section. All you're really doing is polishing the surface. You're basically getting all the very, very light residues that you don't even see from the initial compound. You're getting all that stuff off. So you can go over it a couple of times if you want to, but one time's usually pretty good, and trust me, when you're done with the finesse, you'll see the difference in the polish. Then take a little white rag and wipe over that, and you'll be very, very excited with the finished product. All right, so here at the finish line for the 27 Stuart Boatworks here at Two Rivers, we are very, very excited about this boat. There's gone a lot of effort and a lot of energy has been put into this boat, and I'm very, very proud to be part of this project, and I'm looking forward to doing more work for these guys, and I think that this boat's gonna basically just speak for itself, so look out, here she comes.
When we return, FS boating editor George LaBonte revisits some of his favorite one-man dreamboats from this season of Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. This segment brought to you by Bennett, superior by design.
50 years ago, Bennett Marine changed boating forever, inventing the trim tab, helping boaters get on plane faster, reduce bow rise, correct listing, improve efficiency, and increase performance. Over 1 million systems later, worldwide, we offer durable and dependable trim tabs and hatch lifters for all boat sizes. Your only source for both hydraulic and electric systems. Industry-leading innovation, plus the best warranty and service available. Get Bennett on board and enjoy the ride.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us as FS boating editor George LaBonte revisits some of his favorite one-man dreamboats from this season of Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat.
As we get ready to wrap up another season of Project Dreamboat, I took a little bit of time to reflect on the past 3 seasons that I've been involved with the show and think about all the boats that we've seen and really what I've learned about this phenomenon that we're seeing of people actually taking these projects on and doing them by themselves. Now, we've seen a lot of different boats over the last 3 years, and something that jumped out at me is what is the actual motivating factor that comes into play and makes you want to take on a project and fix a boat up on your own. We've seen a number of different examples of why you would want to tackle such a project on your own. Maybe there's an old classic boat that you've admired since you were a kid that you've always wanted to have. For example, Rick's Cerrito. We saw Rick's 233 formula, which is a staple in the history of center console boating, and Rick has been an admirer of them since he was a teenager. Now, this is a boat that he always wanted to have. We saw Rick take his wife down to the very spot where they met, and he promised her that one day they'd have this boat, and this dream actually became a reality over the course of the decades that takes us up to today. Another example is Norm Beckoff and his classic 1977 Ricky Scarborough boat. Now, that boat, a boat that he'd admired since he was a kid. He fished on a Ricky Scarborough boat with his dad when he was a youngster and always wanted to have one, and he found that boat and made it a reality many years later in life. Now, another aspect of my experience with the show is watching the different levels of ability that these people have. You know, and it varies from one end of the spectrum to the other. We've seen some boats fixed up that just basically needed a facelift and a couple of little fine-tuning points to make that boat yours. And we've seen some very advanced level work done by people that is actually on par with many of the professionals in the industry. A classic example of that, Jim Wells and his 28-foot Bertram. Now, Jim has been doing boat restorations as a hobby. It's not his profession, but he's been doing this as a hobby for many years, and he's done a dozen different boats. Over the course of that time, his skills have advanced to a level that are just on par with anything you see out there in the boat building industry, frankly. The takeaway from this is that if you practice at it and you do it long enough, you're going to get better at it and your work is going to reflect that. Now, the level of work that Jim did on his Bertram, you know, not many people can aspire to that level, but there's a lot of people that are getting there. There's so much information out there available to us to help us complete these jobs on that level that anything is possible if you give it time. Now, another thing that we've noticed is this is a great activity for families. You know, whether it's a father and son doing a job, a father and daughter doing a job we've seen in seasons past, or a couple of brothers. For example, the Knowles brothers, who we joined in Boca Grande, Florida. Now, working on a project together as two brothers, you know, you see a lot more of this going on. And it's not just brothers, it's friends. This is an activity that you can enjoy with a bunch of people, and everybody kind of puzzles through the job on their own and learns as they go. Now, the Knowles brothers, they tackled one boat first. They got the boat completely finished where they wanted it and decided, let's do the other guy's boat and they jumped on his boat and they finished that. Now along the way, they learned a lot, I'm sure, and should they decide to do another job down the road, they've got that much more experience to build on. Now to further take this into the next dimension, there's a trend in boat building right now that's just absolutely mind-boggling, and that's these guys that are buying a plan for a boat and building a boat from scratch. And it's really becoming more popular and common, and you've seen it across the board with skiffs. There's a bunch of guys that are taking these plans. For example, the Chris Moorjohn plan that we saw on the 16-foot conkfish. Now there's guys that started with a drawing of a boat and built from scratch, from making the jig and strip molding this boat up and building a boat out of thin air. And this is something that a bunch of guys who don't have a lot of boat building experience did and built a boat that's a custom quality boat that would stand up next to any boat you can find on the market today. It's unbelievable with the information we have and the materials that we have and a bunch of people just putting their heads together and doing this job that we're seeing product like this out there on the water. Maybe you're not on a quest to find your dream boat. You've already got your dream boat and you've had it for many years and it just needs a facelift like Brian's 25-foot Dusky. We saw this boat, a boat that he enjoyed for many years, just get a complete makeover because he wanted to have that boat for many more years to come and it just wanted it to look nicer. Now the common theme that all of these people share is we all have a love for being out on the water, and if that's not a motivating factor enough to encourage you to take on a job like this, I don't know what is. I mean, whether it's going for a cruise on sandbars down in the Keys, a poker run with your buddies on their flats boats, or going offshore to the Bahamas on your Bertram Sportfish boat, or even just getting out in the outdoors with your friends and family, just being on the water. We all love to do that. That's something we all share in common. And to that end, we're building boats and fixing boats and making boats up that take us to the water and allow us the opportunity to do that. So as this season wraps up, I look forward to actually seeing some of the boats that we're going to have lined up for you next year. It's always interesting to hear from you folks, and if you've got a project underway or you've completed a project in Florida that you think would be a good fit for the show, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you and I'd love to see what you got.
When we return, the team at Stuart and Isla Boatworks spend some quality time on the water with their freshly completed Custom 27. This segment brought to you by Suzuki Marine, the ultimate outboard motor. Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as Stuart and Isla Boatworks splashes their heavily anticipated Custom 27.
Here at Stuart Boatworks, we're back. We got Mr. Block's boat just about done. I mean, it just stands out, it pops. The quality of construction is awesome. He had a lot of great ideas. Everything was totally custom, but when it comes out and you see the boat, it looks beautiful.
So this was a really great day. We decided we'd get an early start and head out and run it a little bit before we showed the boat to Greg. It's a very involved, complicated build with a lot of cool features to it, and we got pretty lucky and virtually everything worked on the first go-round. So that was a great day. Then we got back, great morning, and then we got back to the dock and picked up Greg, took him for his first ride.
You know, we've had a lot of boats over the years, and we really wanted to try something a little different, make it a little unique and not have that same weight look. We saw Jarrett Bay's boat. They did a two-tone and thought that would make a good scheme for this boat.
The color combination was something that he chose, and we spent a great deal of time looking at a variety of colors. That was special in itself. The teak or faux teak tow rail and pod, I just think it all sets itself off just really, really well.
Just the package, his whole helmet and that little pod that my guy Alex makes, that faux teak pod. He dips it and it just pops that whole steering wheel off. And to me, that and the faux finish tow rail just give it a little bit of Stuart class. You don't need it, but boy, it's nice to have it.
I think the boat going down the waterway with black outriggers, black antennas, all the pipe work being black and the combination of metallic. I mean, this boat is going to turn people's heads.
It was a really hardcore project. There's a lot of hours in this boat. People spent a lot of time, extra effort put into everything. It's amazing. In particular, the way the boat handles is incredible. You know, we just went across, 2-foot wakes, and there was just, you don't feel them even up in the tower. So it's going to be a great boat to go fish with.
The boat handles amazing because we have that real sharp engine, that rounded transom on it. It's a nice soft ride. The Yamaha 300s, they're just Yamaha 300s. They're awesome motors. They got all kinds of torque. They're just, in my opinion, they're just the motor to have. So it makes a great package. Do you need 600 horsepower on the back of that boat? No, but it sure is nice to have it. When you push that throttle, and the boat just goes.
I've had a lot of towers over the years, and towers are awesome, but also they're a little bit of pain in the neck. So this was a way we were able to put up a stand-through station on the top of the console, and that really allowed us to get some visibility, extra visibility for fishing, but at the same time not have to lower a tower to trailer, go under bridges, things like that. So it's kind of the best of both worlds we could come up with.
If you've never run a boat with a second station, it just broadens your horizons, literally, no pun intended. And Greg is going to fish this boat. As cool looking as it is and as tricked out as the aesthetics are, Greg fishes hard. And that boat's going to see a lot of fish and a lot of fish blood, and that's what he wanted.
One of the reasons I wanted to work with Stuart Boatworks is because they're very flexible in some of the custom things we wanted to do. Like, we hid the speakers up under the gunnel. You can't see them. You can Bluetooth right to them. Really cool feature there. And for example, the coffin box, it actually doesn't come with rod holders on it. We were able to position those so they're not in the way, but we have extra rod holders up there. Some of the other custom features are like hidden fasteners. You won't see screw heads along any of the plastic that's on the boat. The anchor locker and the bilge access, we had them painted and polished to have a yacht finish to them. A lot of neat little extras they were willing to do that actually didn't cost a ton of money, but ended up making it a nicer boat to be on and clean up and actually use on a regular basis.
He and I worked very closely together to get this boat to be essentially exactly what he wanted. He's owned many boats. So he wanted to nail this down. I think we did.
Every little piece on that boat, he thought real long and hard about. We met with him. He met with Bobby and me. Little trials and tribulations, and we got it to come out just right. So I don't know what we could have done to make it any better, but I'm sure we'll try next time.
We've owned numerous boats over the years, so to pick one and say it's my dream boat, it's probably got to come down to this one, due to the fact that we got the silver color right on there. We did all these little fishing features that'll work, and it's an easy boat. We designed it so 1, 2, maybe 3 people fish on it, and you're in and out and cleaned up pretty easy and quick, and so it's a great boat, and I highly recommend Stuart Boatworks.
Make sure to join us next season to see the dreams of boat owners come true on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat.